So we're starting again with this lovely series I called Practice with Peet. I'm Peet. I'm a designer, I guess, of some sort. I solve problems. I think about how we can improve life. And I just like tinkering. And that's what this particular episode is about. So let's look at the book, because this is what I'm talking about. So this is me. Hi. So this book is something I chose as the first book that we're going to talk about, because this is inspiration for me. This is a book I basically get happy and giddy whenever I thumb through this book. So if you don't know it and you just want to feel happy about tinkering, about starting projects, about doing stuff, I would encourage you to just start looking at this book and just consume it, like really consume it, and start talking about it with your friends, and thumb through it with your friends, but in particular, because I'm pretty sure it will start a conversation. So without further ado, let's open it up and let's see all these. So I made all these markings, and these markings are my little notes. I won't be able to show you the entire book, but let's just start out with the first note. So, by the way, this book, it feels lovely. It's made of like cardboard and very nice materials. And this name, Exploratorium, it's perfect. So let's go to the first bookmark. And the first bookmark is about Markup, so how this thing looks. And I already talked about the materials, but I in particularly like the layout. I like the fonts. I like the very basic way everything is made. And it's also very happy. You can see all kinds of things scattered around, but they made this with attention. They really thought about, hey, how can we make this stand out amongst the crowd, but also inspire people a little bit. Just the contents, literally the contents is inspiring. Okay, let's go. Let's continue, because this is going to be a long talk. Once again, layout. Sorry, I guess I'm kind of like a layout geek. I'm not sure, or a design geek. And but this page shows their space, the space of the writers, and they paid attention to create a space that they can thrive. And I really like that. I really like paying attention to what the environment is where you want to create, what the environment is that you want to receive, basically inspiration, but also people and your colleagues and everything like that. So I really appreciate location and paying attention to the little details, I guess. And I particularly like also this particular page. I will say this a lot probably, which is Tinkering Tenets. And I didn't know what tenets is, but it's like the foundational things that you agree upon or that you want to share with other people whenever you start making. And there are a couple of things that I really like. For example, try a little snarkasm. Just having fun with things, making fun of yourself and making fun of your failures. It's really, really nice and very healthy if you start making. Oh, by the way, I'm not sure if you know. Oh, let's take the other camera. I'm not sure if you know, but I'm the founder of a foundation, a co-founder of a foundation called Tinkering Together, together with Astrid, who's my dear friend, and we founded that thing. And it's about maker education, but also a little bit about making together, the joy of making together. So that's kind of like why I really like this book. So let's continue. Let's dive back into the book. So this book is Very nice. And it's got some things like that should be in your head whenever you start creating, right? And amongst others is the joy of tools, the joy of things that are in 3D. Whenever we are talking together in through means like this, like digital means, but also in meeting rooms, we start interacting through digital surfaces or flat surfaces with very nice colorful things. And I like things to get a little bit dirty. I like things to get 3D, and will come apparent in the future of this book as well. So you see cutting mats, which are dirty. You have like this little soldering pad, which is very, very nice, or really, really like that. But also wood and pliers and multi-tools and stuff like that. I so much appreciate that. And I specifically like all these things to be present whenever you start making, no matter what kind of things you're making, because these are things that will make you or will help you think. It will help you make things in 3D, because 3D is a better surface to think in than, for example, 2D or like these surfaces and these meeting places. It's probably apparent, but I really don't like digital meeting places. I'd rather see you face to face. So sorry about that. I will bitch and whine a little bit about that. Anyway, back to the book. This is about photography. So you see how much attention they pay to photography. You see how much they start thinking not only in how can I make things in a office, but also how can we make a performance of stuff like this? How can we take this outside? The outside world predominantly is way bigger than your office. So why not incorporate that within your framework, within the way you start making things? And funny enough, most of the time when I start talking with my clients about let's make something or let's step outside and just observe what the world is reacting and start asking questions to people we really don't know, they basically got scared, and they don't know where to start. They don't know what kind of why. You know, it's outside of the safe space somehow. And I do understand that, by the way. I have similar feelings, but I try to get over myself and go outside and show like things like this. Make a little setup, start experimenting, make drawings, just getting the field and do stuff. And also make things 3D. And then this is the next page. I'm not sure how far I should go with this, by the way. So please bear with me. I know this has been for over 6 minutes. So let's continue. So paper is so very nice. And in particular, making paper a little bit in 3D and skipping on on the white A4 or letter-sized paper and just start folding things or start coloring things. Start cutting things out with like a little X-Acto knife and try to make it a little bit more 3D. Get layers in there. It will make, even if you're building a website. So if you start, for example, making websites or apps or whatever, it's so nice to prototype those things in 3D with layers of paper and with cutouts where you expect like little windows. It's very, very liberating because you can exchange things. You can basically have a little play together with somebody you want to test with and see whether or not something works. But you can also, for example, if you consult people, if you start talking to people what kind of things they want, you can also experiment with them and try to give them tools to articulate them themselves. Start using tools and start offering those similar tools to them. I really encourage that. I think it will work. So let's continue, because I like folding stuff, etc. I like tinkering around. People say, "Oh man, stop fidgeting," but it's so nice. It's so tactile in particular, and this is something I specifically like. So these are the yarn bombers. I'm not sure if you heard about it. Just Google it. It's over here, yarn and then bomber, basically exploding yarn on surfaces in the real world, and I just like these things. It's just knitting stuff. And I've seen these things in the park in Amsterdam, and people just can't stop touching them. And you see how tactility is so important for people to wander around and to start thinking about things. These things, like our hands, are basically conversation starters, because once we start touching stuff, we open up and we start thinking about things. So that's why I like tinkering specifically. All right, let's continue. While it starts thundering outside. Okay, so this looks like the workplace of my grandfather. My grandfather, he lived in like the southern parts of the Netherlands, near the coast, and he was a wood maker. And he had a tool shed like this. And it wasn't messy. This isn't messy. This is very ordered if you really look at it. But it's dirty. It's being used. You can in particular see how this space is being set up to be productive and to also work, to make stuff. The one thing, and I really need to get to the side camera for that, the one thing people have in this particular time and space is that things, once you bought them, they will deteriorate. And this is not the case. Once you buy a thing, you have the opportunity to make it yours. You can basically create wear and tear, and this will enhance the experience of the product, or at least it should be. But let's say an iPhone or a watch or a computer, most of the times they are made to be like these objects to behold rather than something that needs to be used. And that's why I really, really like these spaces with objects that actually are made to be used. And you can tell, right? So as you can tell, I'm really, really enthusiastic about it. Okay. This is almost the final note. So once again, cardboard. In this case, use cardboard in the way you think and in the way you articulate things. Make things in 3D. It doesn't really matter what you make, even if it doesn't correlate with the things that you really want to think about. It's important to be busy with your hands and to start wandering with the material so you get used to it and things become easier. And I think this is very important. So most of the time people say, "Oh no, I can't tinker and it's really hard and I don't feel comfortable with it." Well, that's the particular part where tinkering comes in. Because tinkering is not about making things. Tinkering and this book, for example, and all the examples in there, they are not staged. They didn't pop into existence from one moment to the other. They are basically the product of tinkering for years and years and years and getting used to the materials and making little mistakes and learning from the mistakes and starting to find your voice into basically showing people what is going on in your mind in common language as cardboard. Easy stuff like cardboard. And it's so... I just really, really like this. It's so wonderful to make things in 3D like this. Okay, so final point, and this is something I also talked about or had like a little experiment with my friend Astrid, and we called it Tapenan. And so it's basically drawing with tape. And this is funny because we gave a couple of kids like a couple of rolls of colorful tape, and we basically said start making things, and they all of a sudden they started outlining trees, for example, but they also started making drawings with tape. And they weren't used to that. They thought tape is to fix two surfaces to each other. But that's it, right? That's the only use of tape. But it isn't. The only use of tape is what you make of it. And that's really, I just get really, really joyful about specifically that. Just opening your mind into what kind of things, what kind of usage, like a common tool, for example, as tape has. I mean, can it be wasteful? Of course. But if you make wonderful stuff like this, you know, real drawings and like interesting ways to decorate your room and making all kinds of use of different patterns of tape and making the world, including your work, a little bit more joyful. I think that's worthwhile. I think it's worthwhile of thinking about. Okay, so this is like this is the first iteration and like the first time I talked about it. So I get a little bit scatterbrained. I try to make some notes, but I really try to say, perhaps if you want to get inspired, this book might do it for you. But this is also an example of how I want to talk about books like this. I don't want to talk about specifically the content. I want to talk about why I think this is an important or an interesting or a joyful book. And this is basically what this channel will bring. So hopefully you enjoyed this. I have noticed, because I stream this entire thing, that I need to like stop talking and stop talking for a minute. So I will do that, because if I don't, like my final sentence will be cut off. So this will be very, very awkward. And so in the meantime, you can, for example, go to my website, which is totally empty. It is practicewithpeet.com. And you can go there and you will find exactly this video. But also previous videos, and hopefully in the future also like more videos and content about practicing, doing the work, as they call it in the actor world, basically trying and making use of all the materials you can use to not only make, but also think. And it's really getting loud outside. So this is it. I will be awkward for a couple of minutes, and then we'll shut off the stream, and hopefully everything will turn out right. Thanks, and see you later. Ciao.